Welcome to the Zweig Letter Podcast, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting guru Mark Zweig and his team of experts straight talk in your ear. Mark has more than 3 decades of experience helping AEP and environmental firms thrive and grow in any market. These podcasts deliver great interviews with industry leaders and Zweig Group's invaluable research, leadership, management, marketing, client, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The Zweig Letter Podcasts let you develop personally and professionally, wherever you are.
Hey folks, it's Randy Wilburn here with another Zweig Letter podcast episode. I am here with none other than Mark Zweig, chairman of Zweig Group. Mark is the chief editorial writer at the Zweig Letter, and we've asked him to come on and join us one more time to share some information on a topic that we know is near and dear to his heart. And we're talking today about leadership tips and hints. And I think it's kind of appropriate. It's at the end of the year now. And Mark recently wrote a editorial piece in the Zweig Letter back in late October about leadership hints to help your employees feel better. And, you know, I read this article, Mark, and it really kind of stood out to me that everything you talk about in here is so relevant to some of the challenges that, you know, a lot of firms are facing because their leaders are not getting out in front of situations. They're not getting out in front of their people and engaging them on a regular basis. And so, you know, I'd love to get some of your thoughts and some ideas about how leaders in the design industry can better support their employees and can better put out a message of what leadership is all about. And so, you know, if you could just share with the listening audience today a little bit from your perspective about, you know, what real leadership is in the design industry, I think it would be really appreciated.
Well, I mean, it's so multifaceted. You know, I think whenever you start talking about leadership, it almost makes me cringe in a way. You know, there's so many, quote, leadership experts out there that you know, it can get academic too easily.
Yeah.
It can go off course. It can get hokey. It can get turn off these sort of, you know, pragmatic designers and engineers and technical people. So anyway, you know, that's sort of, I just have to preface it with that because it does make me cringe a bit when you start getting into this subject. I can put myself in the shoes of our audience, I think, pretty well. But anyway, I think there's just some basic stuff, you know, that it comes down to, and that really is, you got to be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be an authentic, real person. You can't put on an act for people that work for you or with you that's not you. And you got to be a decent person. So you got to be yourself, and you can't be a jerk.
Right.
You know, so that means you don't elevate yourself above everybody else.
Right.
You don't want to make them feel small or inferior.
Yeah.
You don't want to make them feel like they're judged by you every moment of the day. Mm-hmm. It's a whole lot of things that I think once you do that, they let their defenses down, and then they're not, and then it's a lot easier to influence them.
Right.
You know, but if you don't, then you turn them off. If you do any of those other things where, you know, you come off as being superior, you want to impose your values on them, you know, you don't have any time for them. You don't care about them as individuals. All those things impede your ability to influence somebody.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, being you, building a rapport with your employees and being approachable are huge. I know you always talk about management by walking around and the importance of that. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that and just this whole idea of really getting outside and around your desk and getting out and actually talking to people in the office?
Yeah, I think, it's you really feel this. If I also own a construction business, as you know, and if you don't get out on job sites and ever talk to the people, they hate you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Or they think you hate them.
Right.
And so we're not that much different over here in these office jobs.
Yeah.
The people who actually do the work, they want to see the leaders. They want to have some kind of personal relationship with them. They want to think that they care about what they're doing.
Right. Right.
You have to get down in the weeds.
Yeah.
And as a leader and really figure out what people are doing on a daily basis, for them to feel like you can empathize with them and understand what their problems and concerns and needs are. So, yeah, I think it's essential. All the good leaders I know, they move around the company. They don't just stay in their office. They go talk with people. They go talk with people at the lowest level.
Right.
I have a friend of mine. His family owns a bunch of car dealers. And he's a really brilliant guy. Okay. He's a super young guy. He's very, very smart. He really has done an amazing job with this company. They sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cars a year. I mean, it's a big business.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that, when he was young, he figured out, he still is young, but he was, the boss's son, whatever. He said he figured out, you got to look around, find the oldest, most senior person in the company, and you better go make that person like you or you're dead.
Right.
You got, you give a meeting and then like 30 minutes later you walk out back and there's the second meeting's being held.
Right.
It's somebody who's worked there 30 years with a crowd around them.
Right.
And
right.
You got to win them over. He said, if you don't win them over, you're dead.
You're dead. Yeah.
So, and you're not going to win them over if you just sit in your office. You got to go out and help them. Help them do stuff, clear problems out of the way for them, help them do even the most mundane tasks, show interest in them as individuals, win them over, and then you win everybody else over. Right. Very smart.
Yeah, that is good advice. That is really good advice. So, yeah, I mean, there are just so many little things that you can do in an organization to make a difference for your people. Can you talk just a little bit about this idea of having your people just about really acknowledging success within the team and really. I think you wrote in your article, I think you talked about bragging on your employees. And I know you do that. There are a ton of people here, even at Zweig Group, and I've heard you, talk glowingly about people and about their success. And, it's not always about you. And even when there are opportunities that come about and we win new work, and a lot of it's predicated upon your original relationship, you're quick to dismiss that and say, no, well, so-and-so got in there and made it happen. And, talk a little bit about that, because I know that doesn't happen enough, because I hear from people that say, hey, I worked on so-and-so and I never got acknowledged for the work that I did, or I never got a thank you, or the thank you was in private. Yeah. And there's a difference, right? To bringing you behind closed doors and saying, hey, great job, Bobby. Thanks so much. Keep up the good work, as opposed to telling the whole company, hey, Bobby killed it on this. And if it wasn't for him,
right. I think a lot of people are insecure. I mean, I understand it. You get older, you start feeling like you're obsolete. You may have had the relationships with these people to start with.
Right.
On the one hand, it's essential to be able to pass the baton and have other people doing what you used to do, and you don't want to be trapped. And other people know stuff that you don't know now.
Yeah.
But, I think people are just insecure. They're afraid. The older, more senior people, a lot of them, they're worried that if they don't maintain that control somehow of the relationship or the illusion of it, that somehow everybody's going to say, what's Bob doing here? Still?
Right. Right.
Let's get Bob out of the way.
Yeah.
That's a big barrier to it. It's just the egos and the insecurities of the senior people, but it's stupid.
Yeah.
Because you've got to move on and move up and move out. And that's how you build an organization, is by promoting the other people and giving them a chance to do things and making them feel good about doing it. And, And then you're not trapped by it, like so many small business owners are, and frankly, design professionals are. You know?
Yeah.
They're just trapped by their own insecurities.
That's why we get these 72 and 75-year-old architects that call us.
We had one yesterday that was 85. I swear to you.
Yeah.
85, and he's got to think about a transition.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, of course, you better think about a transition. You could die tomorrow. I mean, it sounds terrible, but it's true. I got friends, I'm at that age now where all my friends are dying off. I mean, you look around, you go, wait, I thought I was young. What?
Yeah.
Why are all these people dying?
Yeah, thank God you got some good genes with a 97-year-old mom. So,
thank God. My dad made it to 96.
I know. It's like I said, the odds are in your favor. So
yeah, except my diet and my exercise habits are not in my favor.
Yeah, well, we're going to keep you on the straight and narrow. It's funny you say that, though, because, Will Schneer, I interviewed him just the week before during Thanksgiving. He and I had a chance to talk, and I interviewed him. We were talking about, just a bunch of different activities surrounding M&A and just surrounding his firm growing and just the growing pains that they're experiencing at Big Red Dog. But one of the things he said to me really stood out to me was that, look, he said, my goal as a leader here is to make room for other people to succeed. And if that means that somebody rises up through the ranks that can ultimately take my role, then so be it. Because ultimately what that means for me is that it makes room for me to do something else that I can continue to grow in. And I'm not stuck in just one place. And I thought that was really interesting to hear that from somebody like Will that's really successful, sure. that's growing a firm, but he's mature. I mean, he's 35 and he gets it. And he's still a young guy virtually, right? So if you figure if you're young and you're a leader, you want to stay in that role for forever. But the reality is that there are other opportunities even greater than what you're currently doing. So
yeah, if you want to keep developing as a human being, as a maximizing your potential.
Yeah.
But I understand it. I really do. I think everybody feels like. The scrutiny is on. The older you get, the easier it is for people to say, "Why are you here? Are you obsolete?"
Right.
It's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And the younger people start, thinking you're not. I mean, your energy maybe is not as great as it once was, and so but you got to get over it. Bottom line, if you're going to be a leader, get over that shit.
Yeah.
Move on and try to pass the baton. Doesn't mean you're never involved. Doesn't mean that, the glories of the past will all be forgotten.
Yeah.
They may be forgotten, but, it's life. I mean, it's, what have you done for me lately? Exactly.
That's the way things are nowadays. But, I think it's also interesting too. And when we we just recently completed we just created and then presented our first leadership training for design firms, and it went over really well. We did it in DC, and we also did it in Houston for a client, an in-house training. But one of the big takeaways that everybody had was the importance of leaders being good listeners.
Yeah.
And
listeners and observers.
Right.
I always say it's not just listening.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, God gave you, 2 ears and 1 mouth or whatever.
Right.
God also gave you 2 eyes.
Right.
Look around the room. See how you're being perceived. Look at people's body language.
Yeah.
There are so many cues that you need to pick up on as to how you're being reacted to.
Yeah.
And you need to pick up on those. It's essential if you're going to be a good leader. I mean, I just, I really try to be careful about the things, like too many uses of the word I in a presentation. Nobody cares about you. It's a we.
Right.
If you're going to be a leader, everything is we.
Right.
I've had companies where I was the only employee, and I'm saying we.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
you're referring to everything in the third person.
Me and the collective we. But it's you really have to be cognizant of that because it turns people off.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just turns them off.
Absolutely. So, yeah, no, that's definitely the case. But But no, those are some great tips to help individuals kind of think about their own leadership style and ways that they can improve. And so certainly you got to be you, build rapport, be a listener, notice your body language, the way that you come off, and also being as a leader, you need to be effective at reading the body language of others around you. So certainly want to encourage you to take that up, and it will help you to better approach your team and have a better strategy for how you grow your organization. So hopefully that will be helpful for you. Thank you again for listening to another episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. We really, really appreciate you spending time with us, whether you're out on a run on a cold, crisp day, or whether you are on a treadmill in a gym looking around the room. We appreciate you taking the time to put us between your ears and really take in what we have to share. Remember, we have a free subscription for you of the Zweig Letter. Just visit zweiggroup.com, and all we need is your email address. Just sign up, sign your firm up, and you can get that free subscription right into your inbox on a weekly basis, and you will not be disappointed. Again, we will really appreciate you listening to the Zweig Letter Podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode talking about leadership with our own Mark Zweig. It's not every day we get him on the podcast, but when we do, it certainly is a special treat. As always, the Zweig Letter is available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and just about anywhere that you can find podcast episodes. You can listen to it in your car. You can listen to it out on a run. However you choose to consume this information, we just appreciate you doing that. And when you get a chance, if you have the time, we'd love it if you'd give us a 5-star review and a rating. Let us know how we're doing and what this podcast means to you. I'm Randy Wilburn.
I'm Mark Zweig.
And you've been listening to another episode
of the Zweig Letter Podcast.
That's right. Thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. You got it.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Cool. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this Zweig Letter Podcast episode. If you want more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about M&A, strategic planning, HR, and marketing your firm, subscribe now to the digital version of the Zweig Letter free of charge. Just visit thezweigletter.com/subscribe and leave your email address. Your free subscription will begin immediately.